believe it or not, the first song that Van Dyke did, I wrote the lyrics. Can you believe that? Do what you wanna. Uh, anyway, Van Dyke just is incredible lyrically, I think. And Brian wanted to have someone that he thought matched what he was doing musically. And when I look back, I love the early innocent Beach Boys stuff. Some of that stuff is just great, and it's really clever. But Van Dyke kind of added a whole new thing. When I first met Van Dyke, when I finally got it. But when people would meet Van Dyke, especially then, Van Dyke would talk to you, and then he would do a very funny pun, and then while you're trying to get the pun, he'd do a pun on the pun, and after about a minute of him talking, you'd say, "Is this guy making any sense at all?" I mean, he just would be like this incredible swordsman that could come out and go, "Blah." And he learned over the years to dumb down his talk, which is probably still more clever than most people. So he had an incredible ability to bring words to the table. No, no. He never. That is a thing that I sometimes have a problem with especially with journalists, is they're trying to verbalize uh, music, and that's why music's created. I mean, there are no instrumental poems, um, and Brian, it's wonderful to see him on the piano, because if you're standing next to Brian and he's playing the piano, uh, an example will be I helped Elton John when he first came out. He was up at my house up the street before he did the Troubadour. Uh, so he's at my piano, and Elton is just incredible doing all of this, and it's wonderful. If you stood behind Brian Wilson and watch him on the keyboards, his hands are like this. They kind of move about this much. That's it. And it's like just this incredible ability to create these huge chords and barely move. It's uh, it's a wonderful thing to see. But that's all I would see him doing. He wouldn't be about articulating. He would just sit there and go off or channel down this sound. But I never sat there and had these big long talks with him. I'm sure maybe Van Dyke and he did that, but I didn't. But I think there was a collapse in confidence from Brian. Again, my theory, which is no one else's theory, is he became, because of the outside pressure, uh, and being confused on what to do with these series of pocket symphony parts that he had. Uh, I think there was a moment where he just kind of threw up his hands and said, that the time has passed, which it hadn't been, but in his head, where the Beatles, I think he had this little race going with the Beatles, this little friendly competition. And I know Paul loves him and he loves Paul. But they had that little thing going. I think he kind of went, oh my God, I kind of came in second. It's almost that thing of recovering if you're a great sprinter and you've won a lot of races, and all of a sudden you're neck and neck with a guy, and all of a sudden you feel like, oh, he beat you. Uh, and then there's a time of trying to, recovering. And I think he slowly slipped, and it all, he kind of put it in a closet and said, oh, it's probably less painful to not deal with it right now.